Hello and welcome to the Argyle Financial Controller Leadership Forum, Better Business Outcomes. My name is Vicki Lynn with Argyle. It's great to have everyone joining us today. A couple of notes before I turn things over to our esteemed speakers for this session. First, a quick reminder to stop by our sponsors' virtual booths at any time during the event and for the following week. Our partners are committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience today. At any time during the event, you can visit their virtual booths from the main agenda page, and those do include complimentary materials and information. To ask questions throughout this session and all sessions, simply type into the Q&A chat and we'll address your questions at the end of the session. And now, without further delay, I'd like to introduce our speakers, Mike Dobbins, Principal Solution Advisor, Financial Services at SAP, and Erin Holloway, Executive Advisor, Banking and Finance at SAP. We are so excited to have Mike and Erin with us for a thought leadership presentation titled Expanding the Reach of the Controller Via Technology. I'm going to first turn things over to Mike. Welcome, and over to you.
Thanks so much, Vicki Lynn. As mentioned, my name is Mike Dobbins. I'm a solution advisor here at SAP, specializing in our core S/4HANA ERP solution. I've been with the organization going on about 5 years at this point, really specializing in that core ERP area. Prior to joining SAP, I actually worked over at Thomson Reuters, where I headed up product management over a number of our different tax solutions. Really excited to be here as a part of the conversation. With that, I'll pass it over to you, Erin.
Thanks so much, Mike. Appreciate it. Hi, everyone. I'm Erin Holloway. I'm a financial advisor at SAP for financial services industries, which encompasses banks, wealth and asset management, fintechs, payment providers, et cetera. My background is heavily in banking. I spent 20 years at JP Morgan before doing my first tranche of time at SAP, then becoming a fintech president and treasurer. Bringing that knowledge back to SAP, and now I work with our customers in the financial services area. I also sit on several boards, and I'm really pleased to be with you today. So today we're going to start our discussion around the role of the controller, which has definitely been changing over the recent years because of technology. And Mike, I want to talk to you a little bit more about what we're seeing with our customers and their controllers in the finance facility and role. What I see is a lot of increased responsibility and reliance on the controller by the CFO's office, so that the CFO can then focus outward on his role or her role.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You know, when we're talking to these controllers, their expectations and what's being put on their plate seems to be growing every day, and their teams aren't necessarily growing. So they're being asked to do a lot more in many instances with less. And that amount of effort that they're being looked to take on is not only starting to drive organizational strategy forward, but they simply cannot forget about compliance and regulatory obligations that they have within the organization. So you got to keep your house in order while also, there's a greater push on those controllers to bring more value and thought leadership to the organization.
Yeah, I see a lot more pressure on the FP&A function. It's not just about reporting historical numbers and what happened last month, last quarter, last year. It's about having real-time data. Where are we today? As well as pulling in that financial planning and analysis function. So they want to know more about quicker what's going to happen tomorrow. What are we seeing happen in the next month, in the next 6 months? And reaching into the front and middle office functions and pulling that data in so that they can do better projections, because it's not just enough to look at what's going on today, especially with supply chain issues that could pop up. How's that going to affect the next quarter in revenue? Or, you have a recall, things of that nature that then slow down production and therefore then your financial timing in terms of what you're expecting. So I'm seeing it's not just a look back function. It's real time today, immediate, as well as I need to know what's going to happen. I need a crystal ball to look into the future as well, because my CFO wants to know, my board wants to know, my shareholders, my stockholders. Everybody's looking for faster information in real time, as well as that look forward functionality.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And I think that's where, when you think about that shifting role, that's where you start to look at ways in which you can automate current processes. To your point, we got to be more real-time reporting, things like that, so that we can spend more of our time doing some of those forward-looking items, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah. And it's all about the fast close.
Hmm.
2 weeks is too late.
Correct.
1 week is too late. We got to get it down to 3 days is
Oh, yeah.
is how I feel that pressure is on. So they have to be almost pre-closing
Yes.
before they get to month end, quarter end, fiscal year end.
Oh, absolutely. So many organizations that I'm talking to, month ends, and now in the next few days, they're trying to figure out what happened last month to actually close the books, looking at intercompany activity, looking at accruals, looking at all this information to be able to close the books. They need to start to think about how can we be more proactively doing a concept of a continuous closing cycle on a month over month basis. That's where organizations are needing to start to shift their focus if they're ever going to close the books faster, if they're ever going to start to be able to look forward into your comment, look around corners to be able to predict more of where the organization can go.
Yeah. And it's using those tools for the predictive analytics so that
Yeah.
I can see like what are my DSO trends? Do I have an increase in write-offs? Is there seasonality I need to expect in certain things, right? Depending on if your business has some seasonality to it. It's all of those things that I think that they're being asked to use better tools, more automated tools, because their teams are right. Their teams aren't growing, but the company is still continuing to grow. Revenues are growing, customer bases are growing, volumes are growing. So it's having the right tools, I think, to do those things. But I think we should also look at kind of the challenges in general that are facing the overall finance function, especially with the technology piece.
Oh, yes. Yeah, when we're talking to these organizations, and especially, for myself, where I spend a lot of time speaking to financial services organizations, the IT landscape can be complex. It can be, for lack of a better term, antiquated, and it can be disjointed. And what ends up happening there is that there's oftentimes different individuals in the group that own different components. There's a challenge around that struggle between who owns the decisions around new technology within the finance function. Is it up to controllership, or is this an IT owned tool that we need to make those decisions around? And I think that idea of the technology and who's going to have that ownership creates a bit of a power struggle that needs to be kind of worked out. And I think the controllership has a tremendous opportunity to take a leadership role in that.
I have seen a lot of internal politics between finance and IT, right? Who owns the solutions that finance actually uses?
Yeah.
I myself, having been president of a fintech, I saw that within my own finance function because my CTO was brilliant and wanted to build a lot of homegrown solutions. I myself, because I know companies like ours, SAP, has best in breed, best in suite solutions that are ready off the shelf.
Yes.
They're 90% there, and I don't need to worry about those customizations and the responsibility, because I know what I wanted my CTO and my CAO to be doing. I wanted them to be focused on our customer-facing technology. That's where I want you spending your time and energy, not on the solutions that help my finance function run the core business side of what we were doing. That was better off spent with the experts, like the core ERP solutions, like the human resources solutions, like the procurement functions with the software companies, not with my people building them, running them, creating middleware.
Yep.
And my goal was to streamline the spaghetti bowl of middleware and inner functions that we had, because I had a billing engine, of course, that needed to get pulled in and all that data, so that we could get to that close. But there's also the struggle of sometimes solutions are purchased on an ad hoc basis, on an as needed, without a strategic vision of what does my landscape need to look like. And people are familiar with point solutions from their previous jobs. They want to buy it and bring it in because that's what they know, rather than looking at how the technology needs to work across functionalities, across the C-suite, for the greater good of the company. And so I've seen that as a real struggle with our customers as well. I think those are common themes we see all the time.
Most definitely, most definitely. And, one other point around, the technology and the aging landscapes, organizations that are kind of trapped with this antiquated technology, they're missing out on innovations, right?
Mhm.
When you build something custom, it becomes very difficult to stay up to date. It's almost impossible to get new innovations, and cloud organizations are pushing new technology, new functionality, new automation every single day. And with AI being a part of our everyday lives, that's something that you're missing out on when, technology is lagging behind and really hamstringing the business from being able to stay up to date with that.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the adoption of new technology.
Yeah.
And let's say, a company has decided to go with a best in suite approach, which creates a lot of change management, and how that there is that learning curve and that struggle, because new is somewhat difficult at times, and it's not because it's new, it's just because it's different.
Sure. Yeah, I think, when looking to make these kinds of transformations within your finance function, I think there has to be this openness to embrace change, right? There's, of course, ways in which the organization has done things, and then oftentimes it's been done the same way for a very long time. And, all the credit to your special sauce within your organization of the way you're doing things. But at the same time, it's sometimes, necessary to think about what does that best of breed future state look like for us? Should we be doing something a certain way just because we've always been doing it? Or should we be looking at how can this change the way that our finance function is going to be operating if we can look at changing business process and embracing what technology is going to be giving us? So there's this little bit of a mind shift that really has to happen if that technology is going to be successful.
Yeah. And it's more than just, what are the tools I need to do my job today? It's, again, looking down the road and around the corners to say, how do I future proof my finance function so
Definitely.
that I can adopt and absorb all that innovation that's coming down the road, and keep my people abreast of the latest and greatest, so they can be more accurate, so they can be more automated, so we have a more straight through process rate, which,
Definitely.
in our world, especially in the world of finance and banking, straight through process rates are everything.
Yes.
Because you're talking about millions and billions of transactions at times. You cannot have people touching those and working them in suspense accounts. They've got to go straight through 99.999 to the seventh, to the seventh digit, straight through. But we also can't have our customers and companies just taking those existing processes and trying to do the same thing, but with new software. And we get that a lot, don't we, Mike? When we talk to people and we show them our demos of our suites and the things that we can do, they're like, but this is different than what I'm used to.
Exactly.
And so they want to be different, but they also want it to be familiar. And that's the scary part, I think, is something that's new and different. And they are taken out of their familiar role, but it can accomplish so much more at times when we put that technology in their hands.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, there's a fine line, right? Of course, there's ways in which you want to do things, and maybe what we're showing is not the same way you do it today. But there will be instances where, you need to extend, and you need to have, opportunities within Cloud ERP to be flexible, right? To extend in certain circumstances where your organization does have some unique business processes. But it's oftentimes coined in the ERP space, especially with us here at SAP, the idea of clean core. Right?
Mhm.
Let's standardize as much as we can within the business process with off-the-shelf software, for lack of a better term. And then in instances where you have a unique business process, a unique workflow approval, a unique way in which you want to review certain data, we can absolutely accomplish that without burdening your organization with customizations that then stop you from being able to stay up to date with the latest and greatest.
Yeah. Well, so I want to turn the conversation a little bit towards data.
Yeah.
And the need for clean data. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you've got all these disparate solutions with data in pockets of places, and trying to bring them, I want to talk about how clean data equals a faster close and higher accuracy rates. And so how we help our customers and put that power into their hands of getting clean data.
Yeah, absolutely. I think back to our earlier commentary around, the complicated, disparate systems, when you look at a future state, you have to have a vision for what that architecture is going to be. And in some instances, for some of our customers, it will be many SAP solutions within that landscape. But at times, there are systems that are going to stay in place that will not be an SAP solution. So there needs to be this data strategy that allows you to centralize that information within the ERP, whether it's being sourced natively from within the ERP or being integrated and ingested from third-party systems. So, modern technology with the ability to read data with APIs to bring that information in, normalize that information that might not be native to the ERP is key so that you can have a cross-business view of your data to then be able to start to build on automation and reporting and analytics and AI that's all going to start to drive that function forward.
Yeah. And I think you hit on something really key about pulling the data in from across the entire business, right? Where it starts at the front office with sales and marketing,
Yes.
comes into the middle office with the customer data and billing, and then finishes at the backbone of the company, which is the financial function to get the books closed out, right? And it helps with that cash flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
My cash flow's coming in. What am I doing it with it in-house? When is it going out the door, and looking across that functionality, I think, and having that clean data from multiple sources, potentially bringing it into one source of truth into the ERP. And it helps that forecasting accuracy across all of it. But then you mentioned AI and how that helps so much with getting clean data and getting the right data at the right places to the right people.
Yeah, absolutely. I always like to say that AI is only as good as the data that we can give it. So, if our data is not all in the ERP, all of the AI functions that a vendor can provide will not be so valuable if they don't have access to the right data. But when you have all of that data centralized, now you can look across front, middle, and back office. You can start to predict certain activities within the business process. You can start to forecast and make decisions that are going to look forward because AI can process large volumes of data, interpret and become more intelligent. And as we do things within SAP, like dedicated AI agents that focus on certain business processes and have expertise in certain areas, and working across those different AI agents gives you this ability to harmonize business processes and really drive those greater insights for the organization.
Yeah. And I think having co-pilots is key. And we're seeing that more and more in a lot of the functionality that we're working with our customers on. And it can be as simple as chat bots on the front end of the house for customer service, as well as co-pilots within the organization to say, bring me up last month's report on European DSO and any trends I need to be aware of, and giving them very open-ended questions. And they can come back with analytical answers saying, we noticed this, you might want to look, do you want me to go deeper and find the countries, let's say, where we're seeing the highest increase towards risk, or are there any increases in write-offs that we need to be aware of? Are there any trends in that area? And I think that's so valuable. So it's both customer facing as well as internally facing that we're seeing. So it's a role that is, while it's fairly new, it's going to become so critical in every function, and we're going to become so accustomed to it because I think we're going to have suggestive AI agents that are going to help us do our jobs better, faster, easier, because they'll think of the questions before we even know it, and they'll ask us if we want to then go further into the data and pull things up. And I think that's going to be fantastic development.
Absolutely. And I think there's a key point that you made there. It's suggestive AI. And I think that's a big one here, because to think that we're going to replace an entire finance function with AI is unrealistic, right?
Yeah.
AI still needs oversight. The finance function needs eyes on what AI is going to do. So by no means are we expecting AI to replace teams and users and the controllership function. but it's going to bolster it, right? It is a tool in the toolkit that can now help provide insights, provide guidance, provide help and support to make those users that much more efficient, especially in a world where we're always competing for top talent. And this is a way in which we can tool up that talent that we have to be more impactful to the organization.
Yeah. And one of the things that I consistently see is our customers want to use AI and they have no intentions of slimming down their teams.
Yeah.
But their intention is to grow the company and grow the bottom line with the same number of people who just have more tools in their toolkit, as you said.
Yeah, absolutely. Could not agree more.
I think that's key. That's key. So I think, in summary, I think the key for our customers and the controller role, because it is changing, and the controller has so much more influence, right? They're so much more involved in the racy and analytics of the responsibility and the influencer and the having accountability. I think that the goal is to think bigger.
Yes.
Right. Think of what you can do in this function with the right tools. And finding the right tools is where you and I come in, Mike, is helping our customers do that for their industry, and helping them, again, future-proof their finance function, their corporate company, and please the shareholders, stockholders, and stakeholders that they've got. Give them those tools to look down the road and around the corners. And I think making the organization more efficient and agile is everybody's goal. Cutting down on that bureaucracy and the politics, because everybody's using them the same system and the same tools, right? And it's for the greater good. I find that's where leaders are leading from the front with their companies and doing.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And it's the opportunity that's ahead of these controllers. Take that leadership role, as you said, drive that function forward and really, run that organization more efficiently, more effectively. It's a tremendous opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you both we're out of time. That was such a timely and practical discussion. And I want to thank everyone for joining us for this session. This session, along with all of today's content, will be available on demand following the event. And as a reminder, please do check out the prizes and raffle rules section to see how you can earn points for the chance to win a prize. Our next session will begin at 1:15 p.m. Eastern Time, and that'll be a keynote presentation titled The CFO Perspective on Cloud Adoption. Please click the join button that will appear on your screen to be redirected to that session, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you again, Mike and Erin.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.